Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Andy Hodges. We will be starting in the next few minutes. We're just waiting for the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce to join us. So please just bear with me. We'll be starting in the next few minutes, and then I'll give you all of the necessary housekeeping and how we'll be proceeding for the next couple of hours. Anyway, so just bear with me for the next few minutes. Thank you. All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for your patience and for hanging on. Welcome to the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe official launch of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024. We have quite a packed program ahead of us, but before we dive into our program, maybe we could just please just bow your heads and listen to the national anthem of Zimbabwe. ISAS team, may we please have the national anthem of Zimbabwe? Right, thank you very much indeed for that. That's the national anthem of our great nation of Zimbabwe. Now, our program is pretty straightforward today. We are waiting for the minister. He's just logging in. The deputy minister will be logging in, Deputy Minister Modi. But I think what is important today is what we want to achieve. Apart from the fact that we want to launch the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024, there'll also be question and answer sessions because we are going to be highlighting in the report some of the weaknesses, threats, opportunities that exist in the iron and steel industry. And I think it's a good opportunity, this report in the Q&A session later on, is to identify some of the things that need to be done to make the sector more viable. Issues such as access to finance. I understand we need at least 10 million United States dollars for retooling. Also issues such as access to markets. How can we properly be competitive in the region? Also things like regulation, bureaucracy, and also, of course, the issue of the one that we always all know about is the way that steel is branded as a commodity. It's branded as a mineral, and it shouldn't be. But these are some of the issues. So later on in the Q&A session, we hope to open up the floor for your ideas, suggestions, so that ISAS can actually take forward your recommendations and, of course, be your advocate to various ministries going forward to try and achieve some of the objectives. Now then, I'd like to call upon ISAS Eastern Region Chairman, Chris Mushowakufa, to just to give us, please, an opening prayer. Chris? Chris, are you there? Chris? Chris, can you please give us an opening prayer? Can you do it?
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for this. We thank you for this blessed day that you have given unto us at this moment in time. Father Lord, as we are about to begin our meeting, may you please bless whatever we are going to discuss today. Be with us, Father Lord. We ask that you guide us in giving ideas and coming up with evaluations. We are truly grateful for the day in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I know that wasn't Chris, but thank you, madam, for that prayer. It gives us a good basis to start going forward. So as I said today, welcome Engineering, Iron and Steel Associations by ISAS. State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024. Without further ado, I'd like to turn you over to the ISA's president, Mrs. Cheza Chigombe, to give us opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. I would like to acknowledge our guest of honor, Honorable Deputy Minister of the Industry and Commerce, Rajesh Kumar Aimodi, our event director, Andy Rogers, ACE's Vice President, Mr. Cleopas Gessi, ACE's National Executive Council members here present, ACE's Secretary General, Matthias Ruziwa, our senior government official here present, all the captain of industries, representative from the academia, representative from BMOs, representative from employment councils, ACE's members, employee representatives, representatives from the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by welcoming you all to the special occasion for launch of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report for 2024. On behalf of the ACE's National Executive Council, I wish to extend my special welcome to our guest of honor and to all the guests who have taken time off of their busy schedules to be here with us for this important industrial event. The Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe, ACES, a legal constituted association that represents and serves interests of business in the engineering, iron and steel industry. The association is testimony to the power of collectivism and shared vision. Having been formed in 1937 in then Rhodesia, ACES has recovered several journey markers and achievement in the engineering, iron and steel sector of the Zimbabwe economy at large. Guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, the National Development Strategy 1, the NDS1, earmarks the engineering, iron and steel sector is one of the key priority value chains, providing policy-induced opportunities for the growth of the sector. To date, the association is serving an industry with 407 value chain players, employing 13,020 employees. This value chain is comprised mainly of 6 clusters, which are primary and secondary steel production, automotive engineering, electrical engineering, equipment and machine parts manufacturers, foundry and associated engineering, and fabricated metal and steel products. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 16 years, the iron and steel industry's performance was affected by the closure of ZITCO, which negatively impacted on downstream industries. However, we are delighted that we have seen resilience from many companies in the sector, despite the difficult operating environment where 90% of raw material is imported from abroad to the tune of 1 billion per year. The re-emergence of the iron and steel industry through the Manise projects brings significant opportunities for self-sufficient and important substitution, export potential, and employment creation. In terms of our sector strategy, which runs up to 2026, we are aiming to generate USD 6 billion annually and employ 50,000 people. Guests of honor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the initiative to organize this State of the Industry reports was motivated by the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe's motivation to reduce information asymmetries and improve industry accountability through availing to multiple stakeholders factual and accurate data on the state of the engineering, iron and steel sector, which is cornerstone for most other sectors in Zimbabwean economy, such as mining, construction, agriculture, education, healthy, etc. The launch of State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel reports comes at a time when the government of Zimbabwe, through the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, is working towards the resuscitation of the iron and steel value chain. We are grateful that the investment projects in Manise by DISCO, esteemed at USD 1.5 billion, will have significant impacts on the Zimbabwean economy. May I take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to thank the executive leadership from Dinson Iron and Steel Company, who accepted our invitation to come and share with us status of the project, as well as the products that the market will receive from Manise in the short, medium to long term. This occasion is therefore extremely important for us, as we see it as a forum where we can have insights on key aspects, which includes macroeconomic policies governing the engineering, iron and steel sector, SWOT analysis of the sector, major cost drivers, constraints and opportunities, human capital analysis, technological situations, state of the end markets and trades, capacity situation, demand for major products, and outlook for 2024. This report also provides recommendations for policy making. Lastly, allow me to thank our organizing team led by Mr. Matthias Ruziwa that have been instrumental in organizing this event. And I want to state that this is only the beginning, as the event shall be held during the same time in the coming years. As ACES will continue to require the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, other government support institutions, business associations, professional bodies, and industrial clusters to build a sustainable value chain that will benefit our businesses and the economy at large. Once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to welcome you all to our launch of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel of 2024. I thank you all.
Thank you very much. That, of course, was the ISAS President, Mrs. Chieza Chigombe, just giving us a brief overview of what is happening and, of course, welcoming you to this very special event. But as I said at the beginning, I think it's critical that the iron and steel industry gets its rightful place. I know it is in the NDS1, but I think that it's important that the government and all other stakeholders start giving it the respect it deserves and also the backing it deserves. Other sectors do have backing and lines of credit put in. I can think of, for example, the leather industry. I think the same sort of thing needs to be done with the iron and steel industry in particular. Now then, I'm hoping that we have the guest of honor, Deputy Minister Modi, has joined us. He should be online now, but if I may, let me just check to make sure. Matthias, can I confirm the Deputy Minister Modi has joined us?
He's still trying to log in.
Okay.
He's setting down.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're still trying to get the we're still trying to get the minister to log in. So let me just just please give me just 1 minute. Just take a quick 1 minute health break while we see whether we need to move the program. Please just give me 1 minute. Just bear with me. I'll be right back. Thank you. Right, I'm back. So what we'll do is while we're waiting for the Deputy Minister to give us, of course, the keynote address this morning, I'd like to call upon Mr. Wilfred Motsi, the project manager. He'll give us a presentation by Dinson Iron and Steel Company. Mr. Motsi, I hope you're ready. I'd like to turn over to you. Mr. Motsi, are you there? Mr. Motsi? Mr. Motsi from Dinson, are you there? The guy says, staff, can you find out Mr. Motsi, please? Can you get hold of Mr. Motsi? Anyway, while we're trying to sort out Mr. Motsi, just as I said, well, one of the things we're going to look at later, and I don't want to preempt the report, are issues such as the threats to the sector, which could include multiple licenses, bureaucratic delays, high taxes, fees, charges, also things like weaknesses, adoption of latest technologies, machinery, and software to enhance productivity. So all of these issues, we do want to try and discuss them in the Q&A session once the report has been issued, so we can understand what is the path to trying to eliminate some of these, or at least reducing some of the burden on the iron and steel sector. I think that's critical. And I think because, as you know, having a plan for the ICS Secretariat to go forward with is critical in terms of moving the industry forward. So anyway, let me, Matthias, is Mr. Motsi online? Mr. Motsi, are you there from Dinson? So we're just trying to contact Mr. Motsi. Sorry, guys, there's a bit of a network issues where some people are. So we're just trying to work that out. So just bear with us. Appreciate that. Thank you. Right, my apologies. As I said, there's a bit of technical problems going on. So we're going to be jumping a bit to our program. We're now going to be moving to the ISAS consultant economist, Wellington Matsika. He's in your program coming later on. He's going to give us a report on the state of the engineering, iron and steel industry. Wellington, can I hand over to you, please?
Thanks, Andy, and good morning, colleagues. First and foremost, let me start by thanking ASAS for this opportunity to work on the report on the engineering, iron and steel industry report. It's a pleasure Allow me, colleagues, to observe protocols that have already established before me. Jump into the presentation. Let me just try to share my screen. Okay. Can someone confirm if they can see my screen? Thank you. Once again, colleagues, good morning. I'll jump into my presentation on the state of the industry report for the engineering, iron and steel industry of Zimbabwe. In the presentation, I will look at the macroeconomic environment in which the industry is currently operating in. I'll also delve into the SWOT analysis of the industry, and then move on to talk about the major cost drivers in the industry. I'll also talk about human capital and technology status in the industry and how it is shaping developments. I'll also talk about the level of imports and exports, taking in the form of imports. Also talk about the capacity situation and the global trends currently obtaining in the industry, and then move on to talk about demand, production and market share of the engineering, iron and steel industry of Zimbabwe, and then talk about the outlook going forward in 2024 and 2025, and then conclude by giving some recommendations and key observations from the report. So in terms of the macroeconomic environment, I would like to highlight maybe 5 key things here. Firstly, that the global conditions also shape the performance of the local industry. So it is important to also look at how the global macroeconomic environment is faring, and also trying to come up with some inferences in terms of how that will translate into the local industry. So the global economy is estimated to grow by 3.1% in 2024, and then it will also grow by 3.2% in 2025. So the outlook there is positive, and this is also expected to translate positively to the local engineering and iron and steel industry of Zimbabwe. There are key economies that we trade with, mostly, which I have highlighted there in red, especially South Africa, which is in the sub-Saharan African region. We trade with South Africa in the engineering, iron and steel products, and it's about 69% of our trade of the EIS products from the go to South Africa, and then about 15% of our exports go to China, and then about 8% rather go to to Europe, and then United States account for about 3% of our exports. So these developments in these economies are very important in terms of shaping the developments in the engineering, iron and steel industry. So in terms of growth, we noticed that growth in the sub-Saharan African region is going to be positive. We expect the economy to grow by more than 4%, more than 3% in 2024, and then it will move to above 4% in 2025. And this is expected to translate positively to the local engineering, iron and steel industry of Zimbabwe. China is one of the major trading partners when it comes to engineering, iron and steel products. And however, its economy is expected to grow at a lower rate compared to 2023. But nonetheless, it's positive growth. And therefore, we expect still to have a positive impact on the local industry. Same applies with the Euro area. There we see that growth is going to be positive in the next coming 2 years. And the United States, however, growth is going to go down. But overall, the global economy is going to be is expected to grow, and this is expected to translate positively to the local industry. Moving on to macroeconomic environment pertaining inflation. I think as you notice there on the graph to my left, that's month-on-month inflation, and then to my right is year-on-year inflation. These statistics are taken from the Zimstat, our local national statistical agency in Zimbabwe. So we noticed that inflation is a bit high when we look at the month-on-month inflation to the right graph there, the one in blue bars. We can notice that it's ranging between 2 to 6% month-on-month, and this is very high. And in other countries,
gone off now. No, I said stopped. We stopped. So, what's happening? Why is stop talking? Stop talking. I can't hear.
Apologies for that. It appears we had a bit of a network issue here in Harare, but we're just gonna.
okay, I'm back. Sorry about those technical glitches. So I'm going to continue. I was on the developments in the country.
Wellington, could you please share your screen again, please? Can you please share your screen
Okay,
again?
let me reshare my screen.
Problem
Just
with
a
the
moment.
network. That's it.
Okay. I think you can now see my screen.
Yes, I can see.
Working on the screen. Well, okay, thank you. Wellington,
Yeah,
I'd just like to
right.
acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, R.I. Modi. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for joining us. So we'll just finish the presentation, and then hopefully if you just bear with us, we'll then come to your keynote address. Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank
Please
you
go
so
ahead,
much.
Wellington.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I was talking about inflation developments in the country, highlighting there that month-on-month inflation is high, between 2 to 6%. And also annual inflation is ranging between 17 to 60% there over the period October 2023 to March 2024. And inflation erodes purchasing power, reduces demand, and reduces investment, which is required in the sector. So it affects negatively the the business in the engineering, iron and steel industry. But hopefully with the monetary policy statement, which was announced recently, it is promising to stabilize inflation. We heard there the governor talking about ending the printing of money, ending the quasi-fiscal activities, and making sure that currency is fully backed. These developments are expected to have a positive development in the industry. So moving on to macroeconomic environment, they're focusing on steel price inflation. In the earlier slide, I've spoken about general inflation in the economy, but now I'm moving to economy, which is to inflation, which is mainly on steel prices. Our Zimstat produces statistics which generate an index, a price index focusing on deformed steel and steel pipes. So this could be a good proxy in terms of tracking developments in the prices of engineering, iron and steel products. So we noticed that the index moved for the index for deformed steel moved by 15% from the base year there in June 2023. So which means that prices in the industry have increased by 15% compared to June 2023. Also looking at the steel pipes there, you can also see that prices have also increased by 12%, which is a period of less than a year, which means inflation is quite high there. On a month-on-month basis, on the chart to the right there, you can see that inflation is quite volatile there. It's up and down, and this makes it difficult to predict, makes it difficult to plan, and makes it risky to do business. So inflation is really something that the authorities need to deal with to create an enabling environment for thriving business. Now I'll talk about the exchange rates. You can notice there on the chart to your right, to your left, the official exchange rate and the parallel market exchange rates. And as you can see there, from January 2023 up to March 2024, there is a big jump in the exchange rate there, starting from less than about 1,000, and in March 2024 now exchange rates official ranging about 20,000 there, and then the parallel market one ranging to about 35,000, which signifies that the exchange rate has significantly depreciated. On the right, on the chart to the right there, it shows the rate of depreciation of the local currency, which is more than 2,000% in terms of depreciation, which means the local currency, if we look at the value in January 2023 up to March 2024, it has lost value more than 20 times the initial value in January 2023. Also, this high depreciation of the local currency also fuels inflation. And as you know, local market has been abandoning local currency. And in case where you have to transact in local currency, we have to meet the premiums that are charged on prices quoted in local currency, which is a disadvantage and a not so good environment in terms of doing business. So there is also need there for monetary authorities to stabilize the exchange rate. And hopefully the monetary policy statement, which was presented last week, I think it will stabilize the exchange rate and the inflation going forward. I'll also talk about employment. As you can see there, that charts there's employment figures there that are shown on that chart, and as you can see, you see the number of deregistered companies there. We also have deregistered employees there, more than 1,000, and also one key factor also coming out from the table is that the sector employs a lot of people. More than 13,000 people currently getting employment from the sector, which means the sector is contributing significantly towards the welfare of the people. Moving on, so I've spoken about employment there, but that is direct employment that we're talking about. We have not spoken about the employment that comes as a result of the linkages that the engineering, iron and steel industry has with other industries in the economy. So if we factor into that, as you can see on that table there, in terms of basic metal sub-industry, the total employment factor is about 3.393, which means that for every 1,000 jobs that are created in the engineering, iron and steel industry, there is an additional number of jobs that are created due to the linkages of the industry with other industries in the economy. And also there we've presented some multipliers, direct multipliers and indirect multipliers that are showing that the industry, how much the industry contributes in terms of income, in terms of output, in terms of value added. If you take, for instance, in terms of income there, for every $1,000 of income generated in the engineering, iron and steel industry, it means that there will be an additional $379 in terms of income due to indirect and induced multipliers. Moving on to the SWOT analysis, there we talk about the strengths with the notes. Which ones? Okay.
You can see the chart. Where's your presentation?
My presentation.
Sorry, guys, I understand some of you are having problems seeing the chart, so we're going to try and
Born again.
Okay. Yes.
Are you sharing it? Now it's back. Okay.
Right, let me share. Yeah, it's sharing, right? Okay.
I think we're having connectivity problems here.
Okay. It's fine.
Please share.
Okay. So in terms of strength, there are a number of strengths there. So in terms of these strengths, we've taken them from the field visits that the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe has been conducting early this year. And some of them also were picked from the Confederation, Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries, the 2023 survey. So this is a summary of what's coming out from those, from the field visit as well as the CZI survey. And then there is a chart, one of the strengths is that there is already the industry has existing established markets, especially export markets, which means that we can build on that in terms of existing foreign markets. Is for us to generate foreign currency and also to expand the market outside the local market. There's also a strength in the sense that capacity already exists in terms of producing products in this industry. And I think the fact that we are exporting also attests to the quality of products that are coming out from this industry. Another strength relates to the industry being a significant foreign currency earner. I think it generates about 1.45 billion in 2023, that is last year, which is a significant amount. If you compare to other sectors, we've heard that tobacco has generated about 1 billion, but in this industry it's even more, close to 1.5 billion, which means I think in terms of this sector being a critical sector that policymakers can pay attention to in terms of foreign currency generation. And I think they supposed to communicate such positive contribution that the sector is making. We know in the agricultural sector, there's been a hype in terms of how much tobacco is contributing. That same has to be also done in terms of what this industry is generating in terms of foreign currency. However, in terms, there are some weaknesses that are currently affecting the industry, financial constraints. There we know that in our banking systems, most of the times the finance that is available is short-term and is suited for working capital. It doesn't support investments that are long-term, but require a longer gestation period for them to be paid. The rates also are quite high, which means that the cost of capital is high, and this is hampering new investments in the industry to retool and to acquire latest technologies. There's also old machinery, outdated machinery, which reduces the competitiveness of the companies operating in the industry. Compared to other industries in other countries, they are using latest machineries. We also have manual operations. We also have some skills gap. I'll talk more about the skills gaps in the later slides where we talk about human capital. In terms of opportunities, there are emerging technologies that are coming out and which can be leveraged on in terms of reducing action costs and enhancing competitiveness in the industry. We also have mineral endowments, and we have coking coal, which is a critical input in the production of iron and steel. We also have new production capacity coming in the form of manise. We also have a demand for green steel. This is steel which is produced in environmentally friendly manner, and a lot of companies abroad are demanding green steel as an input into their production processes. So this also gives an opportunity for the industry to tap into green finance. Green finance is growing, and it is expected to keep growing in the long term. And tapping into green finance is also another key opportunity in the industry. There are threats also that the industry is facing in terms of the dumping of products, which is unfair and affects negatively the local industry. There are some emerging regulations, especially associated with environmental issues from the Convention of Biological Diversity, from the United Nations Conference on Climate Change. There are demands there to say that businesses must produce in a green way, and this means that the industry needs to adopt and adapt to these changing trends. Otherwise, if not, then they risk losing quite significant of their business. We also have monetary instability there. In the last slide, I've talked about high inflation rates, high rates of depreciation in local currency, which are contributing to the instability of the macroeconomic environment. We also have the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which was signed a couple of years ago. This means that there is going to be a competition, stiff competition with other industries coming from other countries in the African continent. And if our environment doesn't change in terms of the competitiveness of the local companies, then this is going to impact negatively in terms of the competitiveness of the local industry. We also have regulatory burden, which is affecting the local industry in terms of high taxes, poor service delivery, poor infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And too many taxes, too many regulatory agencies which are not operating in a coordinated manner. And this increases cost of compliance. It also takes time in order for the industry to comply with the regulatory requirements. So it's also a challenge in the sector. Moving on. The cost drivers. Moving on to the cost drivers now. These were also drawn from the CMI survey, as well as the field visit, which was conducted by ASAS. There is multiple cost drivers there, which are affecting the operating environment for the engineering, iron and steel companies in the country. We've got there multiple taxes, charges by different or local authorities, and in sometimes not no coordination, complicated compliance, rates that are not commensurate with service delivery, billing systems that are not transparent, erratic water supply, erratic supply of electricity, and a lot of other factors that are contributing to costs in the industry. So to summarize, these costs mainly come from the regulatory costs, poor service delivery, and dilapidated public infrastructure, such as roads, rail, and so on and so forth, contributing to the costs, and sometimes also requiring operators in the industry to find alternative forms of service delivery. For instance, if we talk of water, having to drill boreholes and so on and so forth. So this is adding a layer of costs in the industry. We also have the cost of the consignment-based conformity assessment, which adds between $140 to $2,650 for every import that you do for products in the those categories specified there. We also have highest rates in terms of personal income tax in the world. Rather, I think we are in the top 23 of the countries with high payee, and this contributes also to the costs in the industry. We also have the 25% of export receipts that are retained by RBZ, and their exchange rate losses when this 25% is redeemed from RBZ. Human capital and technology there. And on that table, you can see that we have a gap in terms of skills that are required in the industry. As per OECD benchmark, would require about 105,805 engineering skills in the iron engineering industry. But currently we have registered 6,799 engineers, which translates to a skills gap of around minus 94%. In terms of technology, we are lagging behind compared to similar industries in other countries. We need to catch up in terms of automation, use of robotics, use of 3D printing, computer-aided designs. Such technologies enable to reduce costs. It enables to reduce time of completing tasks, and this enhances competitiveness in the industry. We have exports there. 2023 exports were above 1.4 billion, which is a good thing, contributing to the much needed exports in the country. As a share of total exports in the country, the sector is contributing about 20%, which is down from about 23% in 2022. Exports by broad economic categories. This generally shows that what kind of exports are we exporting as an industry. And there you can see that about 94% of what we are exporting is intermediate, are goods for intermediate consumption, which means these type of goods haven't been reached high levels of value addition, which means the sector needs to improve in that regard. Imports also are very high and greater than imports, and close to 3.5 billion in 2023, and it's far almost double the size of exports. And this means that there is an opportunity, a scope for the industry to service the local industry. As a percentage of total imports, we are contributing above 35% in 2023. Imports by broad economic category also showing that we are importing mostly capital goods as well as intermediate consumption, which is a positive thing, showing that we are not necessarily importing a lot of consumptive goods, but we are importing goods that are for investment. In terms of steel making capacity, there I've highlighted Zimbabwe, and you can see that our capacity jumped to about 3.0 million tons in 2022. I think also this is indicate that there are a lot of investments that are taking place currently in the Zimbabwe, expanding our capacity. But that capacity, we are not fully utilizing it. From the CZI industry, we noted that about 54% of the capacity, current existing capacity, is being used, and then the rest is lying idle. So there is also need to ensure that the capacity that we have, we fully utilize it. Moving on to production, demand, and market share, you can see there we output, imports, and exports there. In terms of output, we are producing more of basic metals, more of fabricated metal products, with the exception of machinery and equipment. And what this basically means that we haven't moved up the value chain that much to produce consumer products, to produce products such as equipment and machinery, which we are mainly importing as a country. So we also need to move up the value chain to produce high value products, such as machinery, consumer appliances, and so on and so forth. Metal prices in real terms, you can see that base metal prices have declined there by about 2% from 2010, and also metal prices, precious metal prices have rather appreciated in value, and this is mainly because these precious metals can also be used as to hedge against the risks that we are currently experiencing in the form of geopolitical risks, your Russia-Ukraine war, and so on and so forth, which investors would also try to hedge against by buying precious metals. That's why you see the prices there going up in real terms. In terms of outlook, in 2024, we expect that there will be a decline of 14% in terms of iron ore price, and this is owing to slow construction industry globally, low demand also globally, and long-term improvements in investments in mining in Africa, Australia, and Brazil. We also see that in terms of nickel, we expect that prices will be stable. This is owing to a balance in terms of supply increasing, but also demand also more or less changing, making the prices remain stable there. Lead, we expect in 2024 prices to go down initially, and then in 2025 to increase by about 4% as well, on the back of stable supply, the battery recycling, steady demand from automotive sector, which accounts for about 80% of lead consumption globally. We also noticed that zinc prices are expected to decline in 2024 by 4%, and then go up by 8% in 2025 on the back of a demand for coating of metals in the electric vehicle sector, demand for solar panels and wind turbines and so on and so forth, with demand a lot of zinc. In terms of tin, we're expecting that prices will go down, mainly on slow economic growth. Same applies with copper. In 2020, prices will go down, but then go up in 2025 on the demand for clean technologies, demand from electric vehicles, solar and wind power, and charging capacity. And then aluminium will also expect that the prices will go down on the back of slow economic activity, among other factors. As a conclusion, I think from the information that presented, it's clear that the engineering, iron and steel sector of Zimbabwe is a critical one. It contributes in terms of employment, contributes in terms of exports. So it's a critical sector, which I think policymakers need to pay attention to this sector. This sector is facing a lot of challenges that are undermining its potential, and there is need to address these challenges for the industry to and contribute even more to the economy's development. Regulatory authorities, I think, need to play a key role in terms of supporting this sector by streamlining and ensuring that their activities in regulation are coordinated so that they don't become a burden, causing uncompetitiveness in the sector. The sector also need to embrace and be in keeping with latest technologies so that they reduce costs and enhance competitiveness for them to compete regionally and globally. There's also need for the sector to take advantage of growing demand for responsible production and leveraging the growth in green finance, so that we also tap into those finances to ensure that production in this sector is environmentally sustainable. There's also need for the sector to transform towards manufacturing of high-value consumer products. We need to move up the value chain as required by our national development strategy. We also need to come up with strategies that address the skills gaps that we alluded to of more than 94%. If this skill gap are addressed, then this hopefully also increase the competitiveness of the sector. With that, colleagues, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wellington Matsika, an economist there who's actually doing an appraisal of the state of the engineering, iron and steel industry report 2024. Now, what I am arranging now, so I'm arranging the ESAS staff members here to post their report on the ESAS website. That is, you can find the website at esas.co.zw. That's www.eisaz.co.zw. We'll be posting the report right now on the website so you can have a look at it. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be continuing with our program, and we're going to be having the question and answers right at the end. So if you can look at the report, listen to the presentations, and possibly you can put your questions and answers in the Q&A segment of the Zoom call. You see at the bottom there next to participant that says Q&A. You can put your questions in there, and then we will obviously then come to the questions. We have the economists here. We have ESAS members here, so they'll be able to do that. Now then, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to ESAS our guest Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, Dr. R.I. Modi. But before we do that, I'd like to ask Mrs. Cheza Chigombe, the ESAS President, just to give us an introduction of our guest of honor. Mrs. Chigombe.
A very good morning to everyone once again. I'm honored and elected to be part of this gathering today to launch the Engineering, Iron and Steel State of the Industry report. This task of introducing our guest of honor is a great privilege for me. If one takes a closer look at the outcome of our esteemed guest of honor, a couple of personalities pop up. Although of Indian birth, he has never looked back to his home country since he set foot on Zimbabwean soil in 1982. He is fully fledged patriotic Zimbabwean who has never thought of leaving this nation despite the economic cycles the country has gone through. His roots are firmly entrenched in Zimbabwean soil. He is passionate about the pursuit of his vision and works tirelessly to see and make things happen. He is an optimist who has excellent financial attainment to detect business opportunities where others see none. One could say he is a business detector. Most importantly, he is a people person. He cares for the community and has been a holder of Zimbabwean citizenship obtained in 1989. He runs businesses in Zimbabwe and has won several business awards in his own right, not to mention those that have been won by the company that he is a director of. Besides, he has served as a board member in various business organizations. Our guest of honor joined the ruling party, ZANU-PF, in 2003 and was elected the Member of Parliament for Bulawayo South constituency. Parliamentary harmonized elections in July 2018. On 10 September 2018, he was appointed Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce. He recently entered a second term as the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce and is still serving as MP for the Bulawayo South constituency. The history and achievements of the guest of honor are too numerous to exhaustively enumerate. Suffice to state that he is a true champion of business and is a loyal and passionate politician. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor, and please allow me now to humbly invite our guest of honor, the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Rajesh Kumar Indukant Modi, to address us. I thank you all.
Minister, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam President. The engineering, the event director, the ND Hodges, senior government official here present, Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe President, Mrs. Chiedza Chingoba, and then Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe Vice President, Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe National Executive Council members here present, Engineering, Iron Steel Association Zimbabwe Secretary General, Captain of Industry and Commerce, representative from the academia, representative from BMOs, representative from Employment Council, Engineering, Iron and Steel Association Zimbabwe members, employee representatives, representatives from the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to acknowledge this honor to address you at the important event, the launch of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024. Developing deeper and more detailed information regarding our industries has been priority for the government since the beginning of the Second Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with the government's vision of transforming the economy towards an empowered upper middle income society by 2030, the government is focusing on reactivating value chains that are key under the National Development Strategy 1 2021 to 2025. With our National Vision 2030 in mind and the UN 2030 agenda for the sustainable development, especially Goal 8 on decent work and economic growth. The government is prioritizing the development and strategic strengthening of already existing value chains and the beneficiation of minerals. The value chain embarked by the government include the following: agro-based value chains, cotton to clothing, soya, dairy, sugar and leather; pharmaceutical value chain, bus and truck assembly value chain, iron and steel in general engineering value chain, and plastic waste value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, to achieve the targets set out in NDS 1, the government is working with the private sector and economic partners to enhance diversification, technological upgrading, and innovation. The process of rebalancing the economy, the revising the structural regression is the key to stimulating inclusive and sustained growth patterns. The quality and quantity of the engineering, iron and steel industry of country greatly influence the nature type, greatly influence the nature, type and pace of industrial development as well as the way of life in the modern economy. The engineering, iron and steel industry is the basis for the development of several industries in the country. In this regard, the government is making deliberate efforts to support the sector so that the country realize increased availability of the locally produced iron and steel product, increased processing of scrap metal. The ministry is in process to revisiting the Iron and Steel Act and benchmarking it with the regional and global steel producing nations. Ladies and gentlemen, the revisiting the Iron and Steel Act, we believe the country may resuscitate the iron and steel and general engineering industry by promoting the new investment in the iron and steel industry, resuscitating steel foundries and use of modern technologies in the sector, processing scrap metals into the new steel product, and restrict export of the scraps. Supporting the machine, tools, and accessories manufacturing sector. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event celebrates the launch of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024. I wish to acknowledge all parties who contribute to this effort. The leadership of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe. This report will help multiple stakeholders with factual and accurate data on the state of the sector. Factual and accurate information is the cornerstone for the investment and growth of industries in an economy. The unveiling of this report is the great importance, especially at this time when the government is in process to resuscitating the iron and steel value chain. Let me once again take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the association for inviting me to officiate this event. With these few remarks, it is now my pleasure to declare the launch of State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024 officially open and wish everyone a productive time. I thank you. And one more thing I would like to add, as a ministry, we are there for you. So please don't hesitate to contact us anytime, any help that you require from us, any problems you are facing. I know regarding, according to, I've seen that a lot of things on the presentation that require quite a bit things to be changed on the policies and all that. So please, feel free to come and see us so we can discuss and we go forward. But you are a very important player for our economy and we need you people. So please don't hesitate to contact ministry or myself anytime. We're free to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Raj Modi. And Raj, if you didn't know, most of the people were clapping for that last part. Thank you so much for inviting them to come and talk. There are obviously lots of issues that need to be discussed, looking at the report to try and see how we can stimulate production. But I think it's great to know that the government will be putting as much focus on the iron and steel industry as any other sector. So that is fantastic. So thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, do you mind if you just put you're on mute? I think we can hear you.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you for that. Now, one thing that I picked up from Wellington's presentation, which of course hopefully we can discuss later. There's a lot. Sorry, can I ask whoever's online to please mute there? To please mute. I can mute here. Okay, let me
mute.
Oh.
Mute.
All right, sorry there. Okay. All right. So anyway, as I said, one of the issues as well, particularly if we open up our market, if we open up our exports to the European Union, are issues such as green production, which Wellington talked about. The regulations being put in place in the EU in terms of carbon footprint production and carbon footprint value change and deforestation regulations are coming into force. The deforestation one is coming into force at the end of the year. So that may have an impact, say, on your value chains of production. It may not necessarily be how you produce, but your value chains, and also, of course, your carbon footprint, and also automation and new technology. But I think the key issue there from the Deputy Minister, of course, is that the ministry's doors are open. And so I suppose I would call on ESAS to put together the issues from members, which some of them will discuss today, and hopefully we'll be able to then present those to the Deputy Minister and to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and start making progress on some of these issues which have been long outstanding. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to only have one Q&A session right at the end. So I would please ask you to do two things. One, have a look at the report. I believe it's now up on the website. That's isaz.co.zw, eisaz.co.zw. The report is up. It's now officially launched. Have a look at the report. That will give you some basis to put some questions together. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A of the Zoom call. You can see at the bottom of the page, there's a participants. Next to participants, there's Q&A and then chat. You can put some of your questions in there and we'll endeavor to answer as many as we can. I'd now like to call upon Mr. Wilfred Motsi, Project Manager at Dinson Iron and Steel Company, just to give us an update and a view on what's happening at Dinson. And Mr. Motsi, I turn over to you, sir. Welcome. Mr. Motsi, you may have to unmute. I'm not sure if you have to unmute.
He's the one who's presenting.
Mr. Motsi?
So I'm finished now. So what do I do?
Hello, sir. Hello, MD.
Deputy Minister, we can still hear you, sir. You need to mute your microphone. Okay,
Sorry about it.
Can I turn over to you, Mr. Motsi?
MD,
Mute.
Yes, sir.
can
Go
you
ahead.
hear us loud and clear?
Yes. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay.
Go
thank
ahead,
you
Mr.
very much.
Motsi.
Thank you very much. Sorry for some technical problems. Initially, we were supposed to have presented, but we had some problems with the network. Thank you very much. Let me first of all honor the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Raj Modi, and all protocols observed. I am from Dinson Iron Steel Company. With me in the same platform, we have our Director for Sales, the Marketing Manager, Mr. George Miti, the Sales, Comborero, we have also CSR Manager, Bella, and myself, Wilfred Motsi, the Project Director for the Dinson Iron Steel Company. Thank you very much. I've got my presentation, which we are going to start presenting.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Motsi. You can share your
Yes.
presentation.
Right, here's my presentation. Here's my presentation. I'm going to give you an overview of our company as Dinson Iron Steel Company, our parent company. We are also going to give an overview of what we have done so far as a company, and also the products which we are going to produce as a company. So let me start my presentation. Dinson Iron Steel Company operates under the parent company Xingshan Group of Companies, where we operate on 4 continents. That is America, North America, South America, India, China, where we've got different portfolios there. And then we are also in Indonesia, where we have got a whole industry chain of stainless steel production. And in Indonesia, we have got the 2 largest stainless steel producing stainless steel as well as nickel. We are also in Zimbabwe, where I'm going to give an in-depth discussion on what we've done so far in Zimbabwe. And then we are also moving to Mozambique, where we are going to use Mozambique as a corridor for our exports. In terms of the company itself, we are number one in terms of the stainless steel production globally. We are also commanding 25% of the market share globally. We are also number one in terms of nickel producer in the world, where we are also have a market share of 20%. We are also in 2022, we're number 238 in the Fortune group of companies. We also realized 58 billion in terms of revenue in 2022. We are also one of the largest employer. We have got 120,000 employees globally. We are also moving with lithium battery. As you know, this is where we are going. And by 2025, we'll be in the top 10. Our investment in Zimbabwe, we have invested in Afroshin, which was our first port of call in Zimbabwe, 2012, where we are producing ferrochrome. We are also producing coke, that is Dingson Corial in Hwange. We are also now going to start production very soon. I'll give you the timelines in my presentation. Dingson Iron Steel Company, located in Bvuma, Chivu area. And then we are also in lithium, where we are operating under the flagship of Gwanda Lithium in Gwanda. Right. In terms of investment, Afroshin, we have invested about $100 million. Dingson Corial, $70 million. And we are also producing tar and bitumen, as well as carbon black in our disco, which is in Hwange. And we have invested $1.5 billion for the carbon steel in Manidze, Mvuma, and in Gwanda, we've invested about 40 million investment. So we've got a lot of investment in Zimbabwe, and we are still going to invest more in Zimbabwe as a company. Then why do we say Dingson Iron Steel Company is unique? We are one of the mega projects on the New Republic, and Dingson Iron Steel Company is going to be the largest steel plant in Africa, and Dingson will be the largest employer in Zimbabwe. And currently, as we speak, we have employed more than 1.5 employees when we are still under the construction phase. And Dingson is going to be the game changer in terms of the economic landscape of Zimbabwe, because we are going to produce the steel and iron which is needed by Zimbabwe. And as you know, in our previous presentation, they've also indicated $1 billion is being spent on the import of steel, but our coming in, that will be the thing of the past. And Dingson is going to be the anchor industry for the Manidze Value Chain Industrial Park. We are also going to have a new town, which is also attached to Dingson Iron Steel Company, which is going to be in Manidze. And in terms of location, we are located on the confluence of the three provinces, that is Midlands, Marsh East, and Marsh West. And there were certain competitive advantages why we located our steel plant in Manidze. One of it is because of centrality within the country, close to the major cities and towns, near the major road highway, that is Bedbridge Road, and proximity to the major mineral resources base, where we are mining the iron ore as well as the limestone, which is used in the production of limestone. And we are also located on a strategic area where we've got the major river, which is Munyati River. We are only about 500 meters from the Munyati River. And because of these competitive advantage in terms of location, DISO Group forms an ecosystem for its investment in Zimbabwe. This is where we are located, where we've got the yellow, that is where we've got the steel site. And we have already started constructing, which is already about to finish. And then that is the steel plant is in Midlands. And then we have got the mining and beneficiation, which is in Marsh East, where we have already started the mining of the iron ore. And that range where we are mining also stretches to Marsh West. And we are going to now to move the iron ore from Marsh East through a conveyor belt to the steel plant, which is Midlands, which is about 7 kilometers from where we are going to do the production of the iron and steel. The mining have already started. I think you'll see my small video there showing that we are now doing the beneficiation of the iron ore, which we are also mining within the area of Mashist. And in terms of the journey which we have started so far, that picture is showing 15 months ago, the ground where we started doing the construction. 10 months ago, the landscape had been changing. And then 8 months ago, the landscape of where we are doing the construction have drastically changed. And then within a month ago, that is the picture of the iron and steel company, which is in Manise. And within the area, we have built one of the largest workshops where we are doing the fabrication of the components which we have been using for the construction of the steel plant. Most of the components, let me say that we constructed there and from Manise, where we are also teaching our local engineers how to fabricate some of the components which have been fitted on the steel plants. And we have also already constructed the oxygen plant, which is going to be used in the blast furnaces. We have also constructed, and I think those pictures also showing our complex where we are going to do the raw material, where we've already constructed the limestone processing plant. We have also constructed our setup plant, which is 100% in terms of completion. And that is the picture. We have also constructed the blast furnaces, which is already 100% in terms of completion. And we've also constructed where we are going to do the pig iron production, where with the flue dust, the top gas, and the slag. Ladies and gentlemen, the pig iron is the one which we are going to produce first. The flue dust is one of the critical also component in our production, which we're also going to use for the production of cement. And then we've got the top gas, which we're not going to use to contaminate or to pollute the air. That gas is also going to be used for the production of the power, which we are going to use at Manise. About 20% of the power, of the energy, is going to be coming from the top gas, which is going to come from the steel, the blast furnace itself, and the slag, which we're also going to use for the construction of the rod. And then we've got the cooking oven, which is also already 100% in terms of in terms of completion, where we're also going to use for the production of the steel itself. And then that complex, which is also shown on the picture, that is a complex which is showing the steel complex, where it's almost 90% in terms of completion, where we're going to produce this different type of steels, which we're also going to highlight in my presentation. As Dingson, we are also have constructed what is called captive power. Instead of relying most on the national grid, we have constructed our own power, and that is a thermal power station, which is about 100% in terms of completion. Over and above of that power station, which is thermal, we have also going to produce the steel, which is called the green steel, where we have also started constructing the solar farm with the solar power, as well as the wind power, which is also going to complement the thermal power. And that is also picture showing that is our the substation, where we are drawing power, evacuating power from Kwekwe to Manise from Sherwood, and that is also in terms of completion, 100% in terms of completion. And that picture actually is showing how the steel plant would be like in few months to come. And in 3 years' time, that is the pictorial picture showing Manise itself. And then in terms of production, we are starting phase 1, where we're going to produce 600 metric tons, phase 2, 1.2 million, phase 3, 3.2 million, and phase 4, 5 million in terms of the production of steel. In terms of revenue, we are looking at terms of 500,000 our first phase up to 4.5 billion in terms of revenue, which we are going to realize from the steel plant. Employment, direct employment. Currently, as we speak, I said that we have got 1.5. And when we start production, a few months to come, we are going to employ about 3,000. Our phase 2, 6,000. Phase 3, 16,000. And in phase 4, 25,000. And we also looked at indirect employment, where we are going to look at 18,000 in terms of our first phase, 36,000 phase 2, 96,000 phase 4, about over 100,000 in terms of our first phase. And in terms of what we are going to produce, we are going to start with pig iron and steel billet. And as you can see, that picture shows some of the products which we are going to produce directly, and some of the products will be produced by other players in the value chain. And the red parts where we got the pig iron, the sponge iron, the steel billets, these are the ones which are going to start to produce as a company. And then the products which are going to produce and the estimated dates of production. Number one, we are saying by June this year, we'll be producing pig iron. And we are also saying by July, we are going to also start producing the steel billets. And by October this year, we will also be producing the steel bars. And other products which we are going to produce is the hot rolled wire, rods, rebar, coiled, hot rolled round bars, and the dates to be announced, but it's very soon. I mean, maybe before the end of the year. Those are the products which we are going to produce as a company. And how are we going to distribute the products which are going to produce, the pig iron, the well, and the steel bars? We are saying the pig iron and the steel bars will be through direct distribution, one level channel, where there are, we know, a lot of intermediaries. I think you know what it means, that if there are so many players, the prices will go high. But we want also to maintain the price so low that at least they benefit most of the steel industry. And in terms of payment, we are saying its terms will be cash in advance. But anyway, I think with confidence and with trust, we will also have to discuss with other players. And the prices are basically based on the X works that is at Manizia. And we are saying minimum order 30 tons for those who want to buy the product. And here are the products which are going to produce the steel billets. And those are the dimensions indicated, and those are the chemical compositions. And I think if you look at that, we are looking at the sizes, the cross flats, in terms of the kgs, the length and everything, and the chemical composition within the steel bars itself, are also indicated. And in terms of standards, we have also adopted different standards, the American standard, the British standard, and the American standards. And if there are any other standards, we also tailor-made according to the clients. And the pig iron, which is a byproduct for the steel making, and those are the grades which you are going to produce. And in terms of specification already, and the dates of commissioning, I think I said already, June this year, that's when we are starting producing the pig iron itself. And then we've got continuous casting bars, which are also going to be produced by July this year, a month after we start producing the pig iron. And those are the grades shown there, BS, in terms of the standards, and the specification in terms of length and the diameter, and also the dates is July, is what we have also indicated. And we have got the rebars, which are also going to produce as a company. I think the demand in Zimbabwe is too high, so that's why we opted to start with the rebars, and the other products will also follow. And those are the grades, the specification, the size, and also the expected dates, which we say by October we'll be starting producing. And hot rolled wire rods is a product also which is also within our portfolio, which are also going to produce. And the specification and grades and expected that, I think, to be confirmed, but it's very soon. The rebar coiled ones, we are also going to produce. I think this is also in demand according to the market. Our marketing team, our sales team have already gained the markets, and they know what the market wants, and we are there, we are ready for that. And we have got the hot rolled barrels, which is also a product which we are going also to produce. And I think that table is showing also the specification, and this is needed in October 2024. We'll be also starting to produce them. Ladies and gentlemen, besides as a company, we also work with community. We also provide goodies for those who are disadvantaged. We also work with the schools. We also contribute within the community through CSR department. We also help schools in terms of resources. We also disadvantaged, vulnerable people. I think that picture also showing one of the disabled person as a company who have taken care of, and every month we will give them food to eat. Not forgetting the police, who are also our neighbors. We also donate, also assist them when they need help. And currently, we are also constructing a primary school, classroom blocks, which is almost finished. And we are also working with the community. And unfortunately, last year, there was a disaster which struck part of Midlands, and the school roofs were blown off during the time of the exams. And quickly, we intervened and we roofed the school. And as you can see, those buildings are some of the schools which have re-roofed after were taken by the national disasters. It was a very big storm, and today we have assisted them. And in terms of potential regional investors, I think I have already indicated that we have got a new town coming, and those are some of the players who have just indicated that they are willing to invest in our new town. The Better Bricks, Mr. T25, Mr. T35 Mazda, Puma Solar, the ATC Wind Power, the Murenza itself, which will use a lot of steel, and the Nani Ferrous Company from Norton, the Trade Station from Harare, Midlands Metals from Gweru, and other companies have shown interest. And already the Dinston Iron and Steel Company is also now producing fabricated steel in its workshop. And AVM, which is a bus company in Harare, have also said it's going to relocate and come and produce at Manise because they need a lot of steel. And in terms of international investors, what we've done as a company, we've done a phased approach where we are going to start with the power sector. Why power sector? I think all of us should know that power we need it. Zimbabwe is developing all spheres of industry, and what is now lacking behind is the power. So we are now, we've already attracted companies, we've indicated, MOUs have been set, and those are the companies which are going to come and invest in Zimbabwe in power sector. As we move on, we are also going to invest in other companies who are willing to come and who are also part and parcel of the value chain of the steel company. And that picture is showing a new town. Already, our coming in as Manise, the government of Zimbabwe, through Ministry of Local Government, they've also come in. They also came in and planned a new city, Manise New City, Manise Value Addition Park within the new city. And those are the opportunities which are attached to the new city. The housing, accommodation, the heavy industry, the foundry, the service industry, the light industry, the general industry, logistics park, bonded warehouse, dry ports. The special economic zone, already we've been talking with ZEDA, and they've indicated that they're going to award part of our area for the special economic zone, where we have got a cocktail of incentives to attract more investors. A lot of people have actually indicated that they are willing to come and invest in the local special economic zone. We have got a dam near Manidze. Already it's under construction. We're working with Zinwa, whereby that dam have got 3 or 5 uses. The first one will be tourism for recreation, and main hydro is what I've already said, it's green steel. The water for recreation and also fishery. Already we are talking with the Ministry of Lands and Fishery, who have actually going to be part and parcel of our technical team within the area for the construction of the dam. We have also the commercial and social amenities, which are also part of the new town. The tertiary industry, the primary, secondary, vocational colleges, and a lot of institutions in Zimbabwe, they've actually indicated that they will be coming in the area. The small medium enterprises also are part and parcel of our equation in the whole value chain. The road, the railway, the energy, the sewer, the telecommunication, agricultural equipment, and irrigation, and will be part and parcel of the publication within the new Manide town. Ladies and gentlemen, can I say thank you? This is my short presentation, and we say, no matter the size of your leg, one day you shall fill that shoe. And this is our concept, is Dinso. One day, or the day is coming for Disco to fill the steel gap, product gap in Zimbabwe. Thank you. That is our email address, and you can talk to our sales department, and that is our physical address, and that is our head office address. Anytime you can come, and we are here to discuss. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilfred Motsi, Project Manager, Dinson Iron and Steel Company. Wilfred, it looks like the size of me, I could probably fit into those shoes. Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. Now, it's clear that Dinson, one of the questions in the Q&A session is interesting because it asks about intermediate goods. Are there any plans to value add to finished products such as stainless steel products? And that's from Irina Chipumo. I think Wilfred there answered that question, if I'm not mistaken, explaining some of the products that Dinson will be bringing onto the market. I just wonder whether the volumes of products that you'll be bringing onto the market, Wilfred, in fact, it's probably maybe too much to satisfy the local market. What is your assessment of the needs of the local market? Have you done any numbers to look at that?
Yes, we are still doing the needs. Actually, we have got a team, full-fledged team of the marketing department as well as department who are within, and we are out there looking at what the market wants. And also, we are very grateful with this platform, whereby that platform will get all the needs of the people, what the community, what the country wants, what the region wants, what are we exporting, and we are also tapping from this platform, and this is exactly what we are doing. So we are working together with this organization, the Engineering Iron Steel. So we are grateful for their input because that is where we are also getting most of the information, which actually we are going to use for the production of our products.
Steel billets are coming out in July, so that's probably the basic major product that the industry needs. So it's from June, I think you said. Steel billets should be available for sale to the market. But I think with 30 tons, we may have to make a plan to see how some of the smaller players that don't need 30 tons need to aggregate the order so that Dinson can meet the order. Just to let you know, Wilfred, Komborero Mtombeni says powerful and detailed presentation. Thank you, Mr. Motsi. Mr. Motsi, now then, everybody, we're going to do our Q&A now. So we're going to start our Q&A session. So please, can you start putting in all of your questions in the Q&A section there of the Zoom? You can see it there next to participants before chat. Start putting in your questions and I'll start answering. Let's kick off. Mr. Wilfred, can you tell us the exact location of the new city, please? Mr. Motsi?
Yes.
The exact location of the new city.
Okay, let me go back to the slide and just show you where we are in the new city. Let me go back to the slide where we got the new city. Right. This is you see, where is my arrow? My arrow. This is where the steel plant is. And this new city is just across the river, which is in Manize area. It's about 27 kilometers from the main road. That is Bridge Harare main road. And this is where the new city, that is about 27 kilometers. So it's within the reach of the steel plant itself. So that's why within the plant itself, there's an area which has been earmarked for industrial development for the steel products or any other products.
Thank you. Now, can you go back to the slide? Because one of the questions is how much has Disco spent so far and how much will they spend until phase 4? That's from an anonymous attendee. Maybe go back to your slide where you showed how much you had spent in your various phases and how much you intended to spend, if it was there. Mr. Moti?
Okay. Which slide? Huh?
So obviously this is from inception all the way through to your phase now, then phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. In terms of how much you spent so far and how much will they spend until phase 4. You said you already put in what, 1.5 billion here in Manizi and also 40 million in Gwanda. I think those are the numbers if I recall from your presentation.
Okay. The figures are not precise, but we are saying plus or minus for the steel plant. So far, we have spent about $750 million.
Right. And you're looking at, I mean, if you look at phase 4, you're probably doubling your investment in the next couple of years, isn't it? From the 1.5 and 40 million, if you're going to go up to that huge tonnage, you're obviously probably going to look at this as probably overall, what, a $3 billion project in total when you get to the end of phase 4?
Yeah, sure. But also, we also respond to the market. We also respond to the market. If the market still wants more steel, we also continue producing more. But currently, this is our projection as a company.
Now, another question for you, Mr. Motsi. Interesting question this by Elvis Mudzengerere. Thank you, Elvis. What is the company doing to enhance its visibility? It appears the majority in the nation are not even aware of these massive developments. And I second that. I think that as much as all the work you're doing, I think very few people know it, and maybe some people even in the sector don't know about you. So in terms of enhancing your visibility, what are you going to do?
Okay, I don't understand that question really, because this is a project, a major project in Zimbabwe, everywhere in the television, in the radio, in the street, and in the industry itself, people have been talking about it. But anyway, if they want more visibility, we are there. We're also going to do the promotion and advertisement and work with other parent ministries and other stakeholders so that at least we publicize. But anyway, thank you for that.
Thank you for that question. I think what's also important, of course, is at the end of the day, because there's no intermediaries and Dinson is selling directly to clients or to you yourselves in the ESAs, I suppose in a way, if the industry knows they're there and they're buying products, eventually when they start value adding, maybe down the road, if they put in a factory coming in for pots and pans and so forth, that's different because that becomes retail. But I think they've done a lot from my perspective, being in media, to get themselves known, and they've had many media trips out there, to put it in the papers and on TV. Now let's have some more questions here. This is another one for you, Wilfred, from David Muvindi. I represent the tool, die, and mold industry through ZTDM Association. We use steel in the manufacture and repair tools. At present, the steel that we use is imported mainly from South Africa, and this makes our steel expensive and not readily available. Does DISCO have plans to manufacture medium and high carbon alloy steels in the future? Medium and high carbon alloy steels in the future. Wilfred?
Yeah, of course, as what I've said, we respond to the market. We are there for the market. So we respond to whatever the market wants, because we have got the technology, we have got the know-how, we have got the product, we have got almost everything. So we respond to what market wants. If they want that one, we can also produce for them.
Right. So in essence, what I think what Dinton is saying is they will respond to what the market needs. But at the same time, of course, you can't be responding to one individual client with small orders. So we got to see if we can build the necessary capacity, the necessary what I can call it momentum to start building up these different industries. Because of course, it leads me to my next question, which of course is the issue of exports. But before I do that, just like to just say I'm from D Dumba, comprehensive presentation. Thank you, Mr. Motsi. So that's from D Dumba. Now then, Wellington. Wait, in fact, let me continue with you, Mr. Motsi. Then I'll bring Wellington in. Joseph Mutsuva. Can you kindly have the manpower and output projections from phase 1 to phase 4? Are you able to answer that, Mr. Motsi?
The projections in terms of manpower, I think in my presentation, we've already indicated that.
You
but
put
are
those phases,
projections.
didn't you?
Yes, according to
Yeah,
phases,
just put
those are
your
projections.
slide up again, the slide where you said so many thousand tons, 600,000 tons, I think was wheel 1 and so forth. So kind of have the manpower and output projections. I think the output was there in Mr. Motsi's presentation, if I'm not mistaken. Even the manpower was there. Yes, the manpower was there, 25,000, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of phase 4. I think that was the, there we go. That's the one there, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so 600,000 metric tons year 1, 1.2 metric tons per year after that, to 3.2 million, and so forth, 5 million, 5 million, and of course you see there at the bottom, 25, 16, 6, and 3 in terms of manpower. Okay, so right, so I think that answers that question. I hope that answered to satisfaction. Then we have okay, now there's a question there saying that are you going or do you have plans to produce stainless steel? I'm sure, Mr. Motsi, you said you were going to produce stainless steel. Is that confirm that?
Stainless steel maybe in the near future, but currently we don't have plans for stainless steel because the market in Africa itself is very low, very, very low. But if we have got the market, yes, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, okay, so anonymous attendee, you're asking plans to produce stainless steel. What sort of products are you looking at to use the stainless steel? Maybe you could answer that. So at least we have an idea, because you heard from Mr. Motsi that the market is very low in Africa. Right. Now then, Mr. Motsi, another one, anonymous. All right, this is interesting. How are you going to reduce your carbon emissions as iron and steel manufacturer, since the industry is known as the biggest polluter? So I suppose that speaks to your EMA, your environmental regulations, your environmental issues that you follow at the plant. So that's the first question, Mr. Motsi. Second question, is there potential for employment currently, especially in the engineering field? If they are there, when do you have to submit applications? Okay, so you take the first question and we'll talk to Wellington on the second. So Mr. Motsi, carbon emissions, reducing down that carbon footprint, obviously making it green steel. Well, how is your plant set up for that sort of ensuring that environmental issues are looked after?
Okay, as what I've said already, this project is an EIA prescribed project. Already we put abutment measures which actually mitigate against pollution, either air, water, as well as the ground pollution. Already mitigation measures are already in place. And the technology which we're also using actually speaks to that again, where we reduce pollution. But however, over and above, I think I've already indicated that we are going to produce steel, which is called green steel. Already we are in line that one, we've got the solar power, which is going to be used for the production of the steel itself. Two, we've got the wind power already, which have also been started the transactions, and maybe in the near future, the hydrogen power. So all those things will something which you are looking at as a company. So in terms of pollution, I think people, they should feel very free, because we are champions in terms of pollution mitigation. As what I've said, in Indonesia, we've got already companies. In China, we've got already companies, and we've been actually putting in place those environmental issues. Environmental issues are our concern, and we fight for the environmental issues. And they should not worry about environmental pollution as a company. It's within our NA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motsi. Now, don't forget, guys, I think this environmental issue is serious, and I believe that most companies are going to look at that. I was speaking, funnily enough, only 2 weeks ago to the town clerk, city of Harare, and they're going to be sending out teams going to factory by factory to look at how much pollution are you expelling, what are you doing, are you recycling your waste products and so forth. So it's a big deal. So the quicker that ESAS starts talking to Emma, ensuring what are the issues going on, and what needs to be done, the better, because otherwise you may get slapped with some huge fines, because there's a lot, because they've got complaints that a lot of manufacturers are just releasing their waste into the water systems, which is flowing into Lake Chivero and so forth. So please be aware of that. Mr. Motsi, thank you for your excellent presentation, again from an anonymous attendee. Thank you for that. On your steel bars, do you have plans for special steels such as EN45 or spring steel? I think before Mr. Motsi answers, don't forget, he's kept on saying, and he's been saying it constantly, what the market wants. If Dinson sees the viability in it, Dinson will produce. So if there's a need for EN45 or spring steel in the marketplace, I'm sure they could do it. But anyway, Mr. Motsi, maybe you could answer that question, sir.
I think the moderator have already answered that we respond to the market. And also, remember, we're in business, make profits. Besides profit, we also said look after the environment. So we produce products which actually are sustainable for the company. So those ones, we can also look at that. If they are sustainable, we can also produce as a company.
Right, another question for you from Evangelista Mudzonga. How much of your output are you planning to serve the local market? You mentioned that you were setting up in Mozambique and you saw that as your gateway for your exports. So looking at your 100%, say, of your production, let's say 600,000 tons, how much of that are you intending to put into the local market? Any idea?
We are here to fill the gap which was left by Zisco Steel. So what it means is that our first port of call is to satisfy the local market, and excess, as what I've said, is for export. We are here to satisfy the local market. 1 billion in terms of imports, or in terms of export, imports. So we are there to do what is called import substitution. So our first port of call is the local market. Thank you.
Yeah. Wilfred, you talked about how you're going to try and move Dinson out of the national grid. In fact, you're looking at producing your own power. So there's a question here from Anonymous again. There are concerns about your power demands and their negative impact on the national grid. How soon is the company planning to bring on board solar and wind power as alternative power methods?
As we speak, we have already signed some MOUs with companies which are responsible, which are constructing the solar as well as the wind. So as soon as possible, we will be having the power. For the national grid, they should not worry about that. Is what I've said already. We've got our own captive power, which is on the ground, the power workshop, whereby we are saying 20 megawatts will be produced from the blast furnace itself. So we are not going to strain the national grid at the present moment.
Thank you for that. Okay, good. So at the moment, Dinson hasn't got any, well, they're not going to strain the national grid, so we're not going to see that carrying on. So let's have a look then. There's an issue here about employment. This is again from Anonymous. Is there potential for employment currently, especially in the engineering field? If they are there, where do we have to submit applications? Wellington Matsika, in his presentation, showed you the numbers. The average skill shortage is around 94%. So I think to answer your question, I'm sure, yes, the opportunities are there for the right skills. In terms of where do you submit applications, I think you can either, I'm sure, get hold of ESAS. They can let you know if there's anything available, or the companies themselves will obviously be advertising in various medium and fields. I'm just, Wilfred, just quickly, if you need skills, you normally just advertise in the national press. How do you go about
it? Yeah, we advertise in the national press, and we also have our website where we post. We have also our Facebook or Twitter where we communicate the social. We are very active in terms of social media. And basically, if there's anything, they can even communicate to us, or even given you our physical address, our head office address, and
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. So, guys, those of you who are looking for employment in the engineering sector, iron and steel sector, the companies are there. In fact, the members are on this webinar as we speak. And also, we said, look in the press, look on the websites, Denson website, they advertise the jobs and so forth. Then, of course, you go through your normal human resources process directly with the companies concerned. And I'm sure ESAS can also help you if there's anything comes up. I'm sure they keep their ear to the ground in terms of opportunities.
Yes. I wanted to show our association is our ambassador. So if they want also to submit the application, or if they want to inquire something, we have already an ambassador out there where they can also communicate directly, and we communicate with them directly.
Exactly. Now, this let me my final question for you, well, the one that's here, Wilfred. I'm not sure you can answer this because it says, by chance, what is the amount in tonnage of emissions that we reduced by the solar wind farm and the mitigatory measures from their processes? It's a tough question because you first have to analyze how much are you emitting to start with, and you haven't yet got up to full production. Then you're going to have to then say, if we then go solar, how much are we reducing? So I'm not sure you can answer that question, but there's the question. If you can't answer it, that's fine. If you can, please go ahead.
Thank you. That is a question for another day. Thank you, moderator.
Well, at least you answered. Thank you very much indeed. Right, Wellington. I think Wellington is still with us. Wellington, it's interesting. Now, before I ask you some of these questions here, Wellington, I think the Deputy Minister may still be with us. And Deputy Minister, I will say that the ESAS will be sending you a letter to set up a meeting, and also some of the major issues that they would like to discuss with you in that meeting. That should hopefully be coming probably next week, early next week, to you. And really, they thank you very much indeed for your offer, because you'll be surprised how quickly, sir, they'll be coming through your door. It'll literally be probably next week. But Wellington, before we get there, and just briefly, before I ask you the question on the African Continental Free Trade Area, questions from Irina and Muzimba. I want to talk about some of these issues that are in the report, specifically the threats and things that possibly, like, just to highlight that these are some of the discussions to be held with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Things like the regulatory burden, multiple licenses, bureaucratic delays, high taxes, fees, and charges by regulatory authorities. That's increasing the cost of doing business. Obviously, environmentally friendly products is one of them. Adoption of latest technologies, machinery and software, these issues, and also, of course, access to finance. I mean, I think the number of $10 million was put in place in terms of retooling. Wellington, maybe you could just highlight these issues, particularly the most important ones, and things that possibly you may need Industry and Commerce to assist ESAS to look at. Wellington, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Andy. Thanks very much. I think several issues they have come out in terms of what the industry players have mentioned in the CZI survey, as well as the field visit of by the ESAS. So basically, a number of issues they have been highlighted. For instance, some of the threats, like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So the thing is, the sentiment coming out is that this is going to be a threat. Of course, I agree it's an opportunity for them in terms of expanding their market reach, and taking into account that this could open up our markets to the whole region, which has more than 1 billion people. It's a huge market. But then if you look at the current challenges that the industry face in terms of regulatory issues, in terms of current infrastructure, so that enabling infrastructure, your roads, your rail, and so on and so forth, they are not in a so much good state to promote an environment that is easy for business, that is conducive for cutting expenses. So as a result, if the market is opened up, there are other players in the region. I think I had a table there that was indicating that Zimbabwe, I think we are 6th in Africa in terms of capacity to produce iron and steel, which means there are other countries in Africa that are ahead of us, 5 of them. If we are not producing competitively, it means that we open up the industry for competition from such players. And if our cost drivers are high relative to theirs, then it means we are going to face a challenge in terms of competing. And
yeah, Wellington,
also,
let me jump in there if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing about the African Continental Free Trade Area that you have to understand is there's 2 ways of approaching it. You're either looking at it as a Zimbabwean company producing a product in Zimbabwe, which you're then looking to export into your existing markets or new markets in Africa, because technically you can then export it into every country in Africa that signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. There is another way. Another way of approaching the African Continental Free Trade Area is what I will call regional or African integration. In other words, you're not creating a full product in Zimbabwe. You're only producing a small part of a product, which is then sent somewhere for final assembly. So as a result, someone in Zimbabwe could be producing, I don't know, the bolts of a tire. Someone else could be producing the drive shaft. Someone else could produce so forth. Then it all goes into one country where it's all then put together. So there's various ways of looking at the African Continental Free Trade Area. But there are constraints, of course. One of the constraints you have is 30 to 40-year-old equipment. And of course, the older your equipment, the older your technologies, the more expensive your cost of production. When you find a lot of other African countries may be in some of your areas in the engineering and iron and steel sector, be bringing in the latest technology. It could be AI generated. It could be automotive. Automated. It doesn't need big workforce costs and so forth. So these are the type of issues that you need to look at. But I agree with the speakers, Irina, Chipumo, and also Muzimba, in that, yes, you've got to look at the African Continental Free Trade Area seriously, but you've also got to look at it to see where can we find the opportunities as the engineering and iron and steel industry. Where are the opportunities for us to become a powerhouse? And sometimes it may not be making a finished product in the country. It may be making a portion of a product and then assembling it in another country. Another issue as well, which is important to remember, is that a lot of the companies that you'll be competing with in Africa will, I'm not sure, is that you, Wellington? Can you put your microphone on, please? A lot of the companies that you'll be competing with Africa can come out of, for example, South Africa. Now, one of the issues that what South Africa has done is they've created partnerships in various countries around Africa. Because sometimes it's really hard to get into a new market, a new country without very good and trustworthy partners. They've created these partnerships. They've created these linkages outside the country. And I feel that sometimes it's something that maybe Zimbabwean companies have not done enough yet, which is create linkages. Because if you're going to start trading in the Sudan, in Ethiopia, in countries in West Africa where you've never traded before, because some countries, business in Zimbabwe has never, ever even visited. Now, they've never even been there. Yet now you have an opportunity to do business with those countries. So the question is, how are you going to do that? This is strategic. This is the way forward. This is what you have to do. Wellington, any further comments on that? Unmute, please.
yeah, thanks. And I agree with you that, yeah, definitely we need strategic partnerships to enter some of these markets so that we spread our markets. But also some of the challenges that I would like to say the ministry should also assist in terms of addressing include financing. I think for us to be able to acquire the latest technologies that we are talking about, definitely it needs to, we need some finance to finance acquisition of such technologies. Maybe the ministry coming up with some projects that would allow the industry to access long-term finance at affordable rates, I think would be important. Also, the issue of regulation. Yeah, the regulations are there are a lot of authorities that regulate the industry. I think there is a need for coordination among these authorities. Maybe a platform for sharing information among these regulators so that they don't ask same information from individual. So a platform whereby it will enable all these players to operate in a coordinated manner, and also streamlining the amount of fees, taxes that are charged by individual authorities.
Yeah, Wellington, can you do me a favor? One of the questions, just to finish the Africa question, what do you see as the threats that we should look at for the region? And I mean, there's two issues here. Muzimba is saying the threats from the region, and also thank you, Muzimba, for saying participation in regional value chains and global value chains rather than focusing on production along the whole chain may be the new game changer. So what threats do you see? I mean, because I can see threats from people bringing in their products into our market at a cheaper cost than we can produce. We can produce locally. In other words, you can buy the goods and services that are made locally more expensive than imports, which is a problem. But what other threats do you see, very briefly, Wellington?
So, yeah, in terms of threats, I think the industry indicated that we already produce some products. Remember, about 90% of our production is consumed locally, and we only export about 80%. So, given that the cost of production is high locally, given those cost drivers that I indicated, so it means that other countries that are producing competitively may even come in with those products that we are currently producing to compete in the local market. And this will put pressure and affect the market negative. So it's a big...
Yeah, it's a big issue. Wellington, one issue that came up, and there's a question here from Zingringa. I hope I said that correctly. Zingringa, I think that's the person. Interesting here because it links in the heavy cost of transportation via road against the at least reduced cost of transportation via rail. And that's something that didn't come up, I suppose, in terms of using trucks to transport heavy products instead of rail. Are we having a look at that? There's an opportunity to reduce costs. So I suppose that's working with people like NRZ and maybe, to see how we can get products, particularly raw materials, to market or to the people without that additional cost. Is that something you looked at in the report, Wellington?
Yeah, I think one of the threats that came out was that one of the driver is that cost driver is that we are using road mainly for transportation of some of these products. Whereas during the time when our rail was operational, we would use rail, and it was far much cheaper per kilometer to use rail. But now with road, it's very expensive. So it's a cost driver, but also it's an opportunity that is being presented to other players such as NRZ to make sure that they fix the roads, and then such transportation of engineering and iron steel products can benefit as well.
Thank you, Mr. Modi. Deputy Minister Modi, just to let you know quickly, something I found out is that stainless steel is classified as a mineral. Can you believe that? Is that correct, Madam President? Mild steel is classified as a mineral. Mild steel is classified as a mineral, which means it can be exported. And meanwhile, the mild steel is required by the industry. So that's one thing I suppose, sir, to put on your let's have a look at this issue. Mr. Motsi, I have one more question for you from Tinashe Banda. I just want to apply. Wellington, can you put off your microphone, please? Tinashe Banda, I just want to confirm 20 megawatts power is from the recoverable heat in the manufacturing process. Then you're also building a 50 megawatt power plant, Mr. Motsi? Wilfred, are you still there? All right. I think, Tinashe, I'll have to, I can't answer you, but from reading, if I recall the slides, yes, I think you're quite right. I think they are taking some heat out of the manufacturing process. So they're recycling it, if I can call it that. Then they're also building their own power station or their own power plant. I think it'll probably be revolving around solar, but that will be interesting. Right, I've got another comment here, and this is my last final comment because we're finishing at 12 midday exactly, and it's almost 5:02. So Irina Chipumo, presentation from Discourse indicated that the production of stainless steel at the moment is not profitable since the demand for stainless steel in Africa is very low. Why not target global markets to export stainless steel? Because products like pig iron, steel billets and bars, hot rolled wire, etc., are still classified as intermediate products. Producing final products will assist Zimbabwe not to continue participating as a price taker through production of primary and intermediate products, since prices of final products are not determined on the international market. Correct me if I am wrong. Wellington, maybe just you literally have a minute to answer that question. I think the answer is this. If stainless steel is not a big seller in Africa or in Zimbabwe, focus on exporting it out there, which makes sense for Disco. They're also going to be doing that, obviously, through their other subsidiaries, but also, of course, looking at primary production in Zimbabwe rather than intermediate. You didn't mention that we're exporting mostly intermediate, so possibly you could answer that. Wellington, very quickly, please, because we literally, I'll give you 30 seconds to answer.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, thank you, Andy. I think, yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, in terms of, from what we have realized from the study, you notice that a lot of our exports are intermediate, and there is that opportunity to maybe climb up the value chain and produce some products that this could be consumer products and so on and so forth that are up the value chain. And I think by doing that, we earn more in terms of export earnings, but we also diversify the market for our products instead of just focusing on those.
Right. Thank you, Wellington.
Products.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I'm going to have to bring this to an end, but at least this morning, it's the official launch by the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Rajesh Kumar I. Modi, of the State of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Industry Report 2024. It's now officially out there, and we're coming to the end of our very interesting and very informative webinar this morning, brought to you by the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe. I'd like to now call upon Mr. C. Gessi, the ESA's Vice President, just to give us a vote of thanks. Mr. Gessi? Mr. Gessi, are you there? Mr. Gessi, please go ahead. All right. Let me hand over to the president of ESAS to just give the vote of thanks. I think we can't get hold of Mr. Gessi. Just hold on, please, for Mrs. Chigombe.
Our guest of honor, Honorable Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable R.I. Modi, our distinguished guests, Director of Ceremonies, our most valuable members. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the Engineering, Iron and Steel Association of Zimbabwe, and on my own behalf, extend a very heartfelt vote of thanks. It's a pleasure for all your attendance. To the Honorable Deputy Minister, R.I. Modi, to be with us from the beginning up to the end of this event. We say thank you for launching this State of the Industry report. You have led the way, and we appreciate the level of commitment you have shown. We appreciate the level of commitment you have shown. Despite your busy schedule, you agreed to come and not witness but guarantee your support to this important industrial initiative. We are so grateful. that government is leading the way, reactivating value chain that are a key priority under the National Development Strategy 1 from 2021 to 2025. Indeed, we treasure the National Development Strategy 1 and positively look forward to increased opportunities created by the re-emergence of the iron and steel sector. I have no doubt that the sector's dreams to have annual sales revenue of 6 billion and 50,000 jobs by 2026 is achievable. At this pace, we will surely achieve it. As the present ministry, we shall continue knocking at your doors. I think Ed Hodges have actually mentioned that to ensure that the engineering iron and steel value chain is fully reactivated to produce the desired results. A big thank you to our presenters. I think you all agree with me that Mr. Motsi from Dinson Iron and Steel Company and Mr. Wellington Matsika did a good job. We now have great insights on the Manizi Iron and Steel project's status and what the future holds for the downstream companies. Mr. Matsika, thank you for giving us highlights on the macroeconomics environment, SWOT analysis of the sector, major cost drivers and constraints, state of our human capital. I think it was well articulated. Technology situations, states of end market and trade, capacity situations, demand for major products, and market development for 2024. Thank you very much. May I express our sincere thanks to all of you for attendance and participation. I alluded to earlier by the ACES president, myself, in my welcoming remarks. We hope that this report will assist providing key information in implementing the sector strategy, which aims at revival of the value chain. Your interventions aided great value to this important occasion. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our heart thanks to Andy Hodges, Director of Ceremonies, for the perfect logistics, support, and guidance he has extended to all of us at this historical occasion. And you agree with me that he has been the Director of Ceremony to the association in the industry that has got a know-how about it. I also extend my thanks to all representatives from various business organizations, industrial associations, academia institutions, and the media for their economic cooperation, support, and participation in this event. Thank you very much. Well, distinguished guests, our ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling months ago. It requires planning and a bird eye for details. ACES have been fortunate enough to be backed up a team that is very motivated and committed. My special thanks and appreciation goes to Mr. Matthias Ruziwa, our ACES Secretary General, and his team for the job well done. Your efforts and hard work have not gone unnoticed. Please continue doing the good work for the association. I cannot thank everyone enough for their participation and involvement at this launch. Director of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to state that we are all most grateful to our guests of honor, presenters, and participants who were here with us today. It has been a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you there to the president of the He says, Mrs. Chieza Chibombe, thank you very much indeed. Well, guys, that's it. We're right on time. I'm Andy Hodges. Have a great day, a great afternoon, and please, you all be safe. Goodbye now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Deputy Minister. As we said, we'll be at your office very soon. But thank you so much for your time and listening in and participating. And I'm sure we'll get. I'll ask Matthias to send you the final.